Do I think that differences between populations might be genetically influenced? I think there's a possibility. I think that we have enough data now to show that differences in disease susceptibility have genetic influences, and blood groups and a number of other physical characteristics are explained by genetic differences. So why we can't also talk about behavioral differences, I find rather hard to understand. I also think that we have to stay clear of value judgments, and we can't say that, you know, high verbal ability or high spatial ability is something better. The only way I could say that maybe verbal ability is better is if my life depended on talking fast, or if I were lost in a cave, if I had high spatial ability, yeah, that would probably be better than verbal. But I think that we have to be careful about assigning value judgments to group differences.
A question for Dr. Hartung. If within your lifetime cosmologists discovered the missing mass and could prove to you that the universe would collapse after all, would you change your behavior?
Well, I'll give you a serious answer to that question. Sure, it's a good question. It's one I've thought a lot about. And as Dyson said, if the universe is discovered to be naturally closed, that it means it's closed if nothing intervenes. We have 10 to the 10 years to find a technological way to burst it open. Now, since '79, a lot of people have talked about this possibility of bursting open a closed universe, and that's what I'd go for.
I want to ask...
If it is closed? No. Oh, if I know it to be closed, I would go into total despair.
Okay.
Dr. Shermer, you were talking earlier about facts and how what scientists agree to be most probable is what we should accept as our model. And then you used the same logic for morals, and you said that we should accept these moral judgments based upon those who are moralists. Is that correct? It doesn't
moral agents.
Moral agents.
Which is you and I.
But there's enormous disagreement on that. If you want democracy to rule on who's the right moral agent, I think that you and I would disagree with the result.
Maybe. That's true.
Before you get to that, Michael, I did get the caller, and it's Ernst Zundel. And he wants to know if World War II had gone the other way, would the movie have actually made Oscar Schindler a Benedict Arnold-like character?
Very good. What was the question? No, I got it. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I just... the democracy, yes, okay, right. So, well, look, I'm just looking for some rational alternative. I think the provisional facts in science is a good one. I think the provisional facts in morality is a decent one. It's not perfect. Science is not perfect. It's fallible, but it's the best thing we have. I think it's good to look for rational criteria for our moral decisions. What's the alternative? Irrational criteria for our moral decisions. Religious criteria. Roger, let me make an example. You said you know some Christians that are better than some scientists. You know, okay, I do too. But I would say that there's two overlapping bell curves where the 4 standard deviations out of the best religious people overlap 4 standard deviations out of the worst scientific people, and there's some overlap there. I know no scientist that murdered another scientist over a scientific question. I know the mathematician Everest Galois was gunned down in a duel, but it was over a woman, not a scientific issue. Giordano Bruno, there you go. Giordano Bruno was burned at the stake by religion. Lavoisier was murdered by the state. States kill, religions kill. I know science does not kill people. Sure, they have nasty people and so on, but science is a better way of living your life.
I'll respond to that very briefly. The point I was trying to make simply was the lead into the point that if you, in other words, to make some of these ideas explicit and live your life understanding those ideas. And I think that many of the scientists that I know actually don't actually make the ideas explicit. It was just a hope that they would do that. Your own magazine here has got this wonderful interview with Robin Fox and Lionel Tiger. And Lionel does ask this question. I mean, he says, as I do, that it's great fun to listen to John's talk and so on. But nevertheless, it seems to me that if one says that something that 99% of a population is doing is unnatural, you have a big problem. In other words, we still have got absolutely no closer to understanding why, instead of being here this morning, there are all these people in churches doing the sorts of things that they do. The songs are great. We haven't had any songs here. This could be possibly the example. Does anybody know a song? There you go. There you go. See? There we go.
Started something. Yeah, I like that. It ain't necessarily something.
Just a rejoinder, I would submit that the people that are in the churches are there for exactly the same reason that you're here. They have a question they want an answer to. I think you're more likely to find the answer, but that's the only difference.
This is for Dr. Chagnon. Most of the homicides you were discussing yesterday in a warfare context involve men, and I would guess principally young men, which is true in American cities as well. To what extent do the women participate in this either as victims or as actual participants in the killers, and also for non-combatant men, if they opt out, as many people did in the American West, are they pretty much immune to being killed themselves?
All excellent questions. Yes, most of the killers are, well, no, I can't say most of the killers in my chart are young men, because it includes men of all ages, but most of the killing was done when they were younger. But that doesn't mean that older guys still are not competent at doing the job when the job has to be done. I resent getting old, as Marvin heard. But the victims can be of any age. They tend, in general, to be younger, and they may or may not be unukais themselves. One of the problems in doing research in a population like the Yanomama is that they don't have any concept of numbers, or they can't measure time the way we do. And a lot of the things that I'd like to know most about have to do with, specific dates, or how long ago did particular people die, and how old were they when they die, and their concepts of how old people are. He's tying his penis up, or her nipples are just starting to come out, and he's big as distinct from young. And so these kinds of ontological descriptions of how old people are become a problem when you try to estimate things like age at death and how old people were when they killed other people. I have no case whatsoever of a woman ever killing someone, although about 5% of the victims in that sample that I showed were women who, in general, were killed by their husbands in fits of sexual jealousy and rage. In many cases, these were accidental. The guy intended only to shoot her in the buttocks with the barbed arrow, making it very painful for her to remove it, but missed and shot too high, and a fatality occurred. So they don't deliberately try to kill women, but women are occasionally victims, and about 5% of the victims in that sample were female. Was there another part to your question that I didn't get to?
Okay, take the next question.
If you don't participate, you yourself...
Oh, yeah, the other thing is there any social disapproval of people who don't participate in raids or going in on fights? Up to a certain point, if a guy regularly defends his honor, like when his wife is seduced, and it's his honor that's at stake, all men are expected to react violently to that, and if they don't react violently to that, then pretty soon every young guy in the village is having an affair with his wife. So if you want to tolerate that, then you can live a perfectly peaceful life, but you're not going to have many offspring of your own. I mean, all the offspring are going to be sired by other men. People going on raids versus not going on raids, perfectly honorable people who are, the best guys in the village who've killed lots of people will, under certain circumstances, elect not to raid a particular village because for some reason he has kinsmen in that village or friends in that village and would not want to inflict harm on them. And no social disapproval or opprobrium is heaped on his head for doing that.
Would you warn him?